Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Melinda Ellsworth, Director of Donor Services at Science Care, is ready to talk to us because Science Care is very special. And I was going to tell our listening audience, Melinda, that it used to be when I would talk about Science Care, people would say, what? Who? And I would talk about what they do. And now the word is getting out. Says, oh, yeah, I heard of that. And the last couple I talked about said, and they were someone I would never have thought would do it, said, yeah, we got to think about that. I think that's a better idea, because they apparently had not made any arrangements. So it's easier now for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, I think, it's just such a foreign concept to some people, to a lot of people, and we are trying really hard to get out and talk to people, share the story of donation with everyone, and get the consumer, the public, comfortable with the concept. Because for the longest time, when people think about end of life, making arrangements, they think about burial, and now people are thinking about cremation. But we want people to think that there is a third option, right, which is donating your body to science. Now, this is a wonderful way for you and I, for anyone, to give back to science and help future generations. It includes cremation, all at no cost. It's easy to do. It's simple. Almost everyone will qualify. And it's shows like yours that help us to really get that word out. So I want to thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. Well, we appreciate it so much because, as you know, my husband and I jumped on the bandwagon, and I actually even had the discussion with my son, and I didn't talk to his wife about this, but I did talk to him, and they have 9-year-old triplets, and he looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, well, I just want you to know that's what Bill and I are doing, so don't be surprised when this happens, and it's something you might want to think about, too, even though I hope you don't die and nothing's going to happen, but it's not something you should just close your eyes to.
Absolutely. Any age, anyone should think about what they want to have happen at the end of their life. It doesn't have to be, a long, drawn-out thought process or conversation with your loved ones, but just thinking about it and telling people what you wish. The most important thing, and especially with donating your body to science, is that you let your loved ones know what you want to do. If you've registered with a program like Science Care, let them know who to call at the time of passing. And then once we do get that call, the process is really simple. We'll take over from there. We'll help your family through the process. And it really does help in some ways, not only financially because there's no cost to the family, but also what I often see is that families feel comfort through the donation process, that their loved one was able to give this last gift to others, and that the gift is so meaningful in such a broad way for humanity. And so it does give some comfort in that moment of grief.
You know, Melinda, when we first started working with you, if I'm not mistaken, you used to write articles, didn't you? I thought you did. Okay. I think it's time for you to give me something just like what you said. Let's just do that for our upcoming June issue. Put together something that says what you just said. It was so beautiful.
No problem. I can do that for you right away.
Yeah, you should do that because you're right. And maybe it's because science now is taking such a strong role in everyone's life, whether it was because of stem cells with all the new, we just finished the Cure Symposium, which was very successful. And the people, the people just learned so much. And I think that's what's happening now. So they're not afraid to think, into the future. And also the fact that so many of these doctors had the benefit of having a cadaver or parts that they could practice on.
Absolutely. I was just thinking today that we should talk about cardiac disease and stroke, because if you think about this is cardiac disease, heart disease, is the number one killer in the United States. Absolutely number one, above cancer, above everything. And you probably know many people who have some sort of heart disease. I mean, we don't talk about it a lot. You may take medication as you get older to try and prevent arterial blockage and things like this. But think about the number of people who have had stent placement, valve replacement, all of the pacemakers, all of these types of surgical procedures required cadaveric tissue, people who donate through science, to be able to develop that technology, develop those implants, develop those procedures, and then train surgeons and continue to train surgeons on how to perform those procedures.
Excellent, excellent.
These are common procedures, and these surgeons need to be able to train on them and learn the newest techniques. Like you said, technology and science is around us all the time, and it is rapidly changing and improving. And we need people to donate human tissue through a science care program like this. So you can donate your whole body, you can participate in multiple medical research and training programs, and help not only patients in the future, but we're talking about patients today.
Yeah, I think that all of a sudden now it seems like it's the thing to do. It's the place to be. It's, I have a friend that is a clinical psychologist, and she now just got a job at hospice. And I started telling her about this, and I don't know how she can work on it because I guess she has to be careful, but she didn't really know much about it. I told her, I think she's very old-fashioned, and her family, has the same typical thing, that traditional burials, but I told her about it, and I said there'll be a lot of people that are passing away in hospice, and they don't have money, and this is a great way for them not to have to even think or worry about that.
Absolutely, and we work with hospice quite frequently, hospice health workers, health professionals, families that are with their loved ones in hospice, and we have a great program, first of all, for hospice that we developed so that you can go through the pre-screening process and get accepted before passing, which is a great help. So that at the time of passing, that phone call to Science Care is really simple. It's a 5-minute phone call, and then we start to take care of everything in the donation process. It just makes it easier for the family at that moment. But for those in hospice or terminally ill, what I would say is that it is so important to consider what your options are. And donation is not for everyone. But so many people are looking at donation as a way not only to give back, to help relieve that financial burden from their families, but also as a way to give in service that one last time before they leave the earth, right? I mean, as we're all sort of getting older, I myself, we face our own mortality. We think about, what did I leave in this world? And donation is one way for people to feel comfort personally before they even donate, that they are giving back to others. And that's really why people come to the program like this. And we have people of all ages, all ethnicities, all religions, all cultures. Anyone is a good candidate for a program like this.
Now, how about people on dialysis?
Sure, yep. We actually do work with dialysis centers all across the country, just to educate people and let them know that the option is available should that need arise. But it doesn't matter if you're on dialysis or if you have any other sort of disease of the liver, kidney, heart, lung, cancer, ALS, any type of disease process is still okay for donation, for whole body donation through Science Care. The main rule outs for us are simply, are simply contagious disease.
Right, and of course, and the reason I even mention is because a lot of people on dialysis, they say that 3 years is pretty much what people can handle. I mean, they just get so discouraged, don't they?
Yeah, it's really tough. It's really hard on your body. It's really hard on you mentally. And, being able to have a transplant. And even think about this, too. If you're not able to get that transplant, being a body donor, we do work with programs that are teaching surgeons on how to do transplant procedures. So although you may not be getting a transplant or giving an organ yourself for transplant, you can still help the cycle of medical research, education, and training to help patients.
That's excellent. It's such a win-win situation, and I guess the worst thing is, well, number one is to educate everyone and keep doing radio shows and advertising and expos and everything you can to get people to know, and then do a lot of networking, and then to have lots of, I guess we ought to have a lot of testimonials. I think we may have had some testimonials when we did this a few years ago, but people need to really understand the benefit. Let's just get down and dirty and talk about financial. I mean, right now, there are a lot of families that don't have the money to spend, and you're looking at what, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 easily. Isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, even if you were just to do a simple cremation, you're looking at $1,000 to $3,500. If you were to do a full burial, funeral type of situation, you're looking at $10,000 plus. And not only do people just normally don't have that kind of disposable cash laying around, but if you're caring for your loved one, if you're dealing with your loved one through a long, drawn-out chronic illness perhaps, both your loved one and your finances are often depleted at the point when the loved one passes. And so this is a great way to offset that final expense because it is no cost upon acceptance. That includes the transportation from the location of passing, the filing of the death certificate, cremation, and return of remains to the family in 3 to 5 weeks. So it's not like donating to a university where you may have to wait a year or 3 years to have cremated remains returned. We will return the tissues that have not been utilized for medical research and training back to the family as cremated remains within 3 to 5 weeks. And that helps with that process of closure, and we're able to do that again at no cost because that's just part of the donation process. And you can still have a memorial service, a celebration of life, a get-together with your family and friends, either with remains or wait till the 3 to 5 weeks till you receive them and have them with the remains there. So that's completely personal and up to each family.
Right. Well, that's what I've told people. Yeah, that's extremely important to realize that you can have a memorial service. You don't have to have a body there.
Yes. Yeah, it's about being with your loved ones, your friends and family, and sharing in that moment, sharing the life of that loved one. So, yeah, when we work with people on the phone, they have lots and lots of questions. They have lots of questions about what to do next, how to start this process of putting together a celebration of life, maybe how to process veterans' benefits and things like that, and we will help walk your loved ones through all of that. We're available 24 hours a day, and we're just here to help and answer questions.
I think that's something that you said really makes a lot of sense. You need to tell your family members that you're going to do this, because I can picture people not discussing this, and then they go ahead and start to make arrangements, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, not only that, what happens is they don't tell their loved ones, and so their loved ones are going through papers and effects or the wallet of their loved one and see the Science Care identification card, call Science Care, and they call us and have no idea who we are or what this program is or why their parent or loved one wanted to do this. So it's just easier for everyone if you communicate your wishes to your loved ones, just a simple conversation. And when you do register for the program, we'll send you a welcome letter and some ID cards, and that can help you to start that conversation with your loved ones. Give them an ID card. Let them know this is what you want, why it's important to you, what the process will be like. And in fact, we encourage families to call us together. We can do a conference call, talk to all the family members all at once, let them know what's going to happen, what the process is, what they can expect. And that helps to make that moment of passing much easier.
Yeah, that's really true. And I think that and our guest, I just want to say this again, that Melinda Ellsworth is the Director of Donor Services at Science Care, and the website is sciencecare.com, sciencecare.com. And as she's been telling you, it's a whole body donation program. There's no cost. There's no age limits. If you want to know more about it, I'm going to give you a toll-free phone number to call, and they will send you, it's quite a beautiful information booklet, actually. It's 1-800-417-3747, and you can do this 24 hours a day. Again, it's 1-800-417-3747. Now, something else, it does work well with VA death benefits and funeral honors. Now, I know we've talked about this before, but maybe you ought to share some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is great timing, actually, too, because it's this month that we have a Memorial Day, right? The end of the month. And veterans are a key component of our donation program. 1 out of every 3 donors has served in our military, which is amazing to me in the first place. But what we have found is this is a great way to augment the existing veterans' burial benefits. So a veteran can be placed in a national cemetery with honors, can be interred as cremated remains, could be buried, whatever you like. but that doesn't cover the cost of cremation. Now, with a program like this, the veteran can give back to science, help others. The cremation is no cost to the family, so there's no expense there. And then you could take those remains and work with the national cemetery of your choice to place your loved one with honors, and all of that is at no cost as well. And we can help you to sort out that process, get you in contact with the right people so that you can make those arrangements.
Yeah, you're thinking of all of it, and I don't know what, and I also should share this, that there's really no age. I mean, you may have a child who unfortunately and terribly gets either killed in some way or passes away from a disease. And you can certainly do this because everybody, has a use for a body of something, whether it's research or whether it's a medical school, and that child then lives on in a different way, not the way you want it to be there in your home and with you, but rather than putting something under the ground or cremating, which I have to say is burning it, I think it's much better to go and donate it. And I think it's almost, you become immortal. I just, because you're in the brain of the person, the researchers who are using that body.
Absolutely. And, what's interesting is the researchers, the educators, the universities, they have such profound respect for the gift of donation and the understanding that the beginning of donation and the beginning of life for someone else had to come through this passing. And so we, Science Care, as we handle and work with our donors, our goal is to always show the utmost respect for the donor and the donor's family throughout the process. And we communicate that in everything that we do and with our clients. And our clients show that as well. Sometimes we work with universities all across the world, and we have received the nicest letters, cards, handmade cards. They do celebrations of life for their particular cadavers that they work with as students, and they send us photos of that ceremony. And it's really important that the families understand the care and concern that is shown throughout the donation process and beyond with the use of the tissue. That's critical to our mission and critical for the families to understand the care and concern that we share.
And so, just briefly, what are typical questions that people, when they call you for information, that you are asked?
Sure. You alluded to a good one. Is there an age limit? No, there's no age limit. We can place donors of all ages. The oldest donor we had, I think, was 108.
No, wait. I love that. 108?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely.
Now
Yep, great donor, and we were able to place that donor with multiple research and training programs.
Now,
Absolutely.
That's fabulous. Now, I think that's a great body because they could really see what's going on with that person.
Yeah. Oh, it's fabulous. Our average age of donor is around 70, 75, something like that. But it's really great when we can be able to work with donors that are either younger or older, because it helps to give more realism to the experience for the physicians. I mean, think about this. Working with human tissue and all its variation is much more valuable to a researcher, scientist, educator than any kind of simulation. That either a computer simulation, a plastic simulation, there's nothing like working with human tissue and being able to perfect your work with all of those variables. That's the key. That's the benefit of tissue donation.
Huh.
So, but anyway, as a question, one of the key questions also is, what are the key rule-outs? And as we talked about a moment ago, the biggest rule-out is contagious disease like HIV, hepatitis B or C, something like that.
Okay. Anything else?
There could be, but typically no. I mean, most everyone qualifies. If you were extremely obese, that might be a rule-out, but I can't say that it's always a rule-out, because we're trying to place each donor with current medical research and training programs. So every day is a different day. But in general, the basic rule-out criteria are the contagious diseases.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's now. This is the the question. So let's say someone passes away very quickly, and they're either in hospice and the body is still there, they're at home. They make the phone call. How long, what happens next when you make that phone call? And how long does that take?
Yeah. So let's say that they were not pre-qualified let's say that they were not pre-qualified under the HOPE program for hospice or terminally ill. So we're just getting a call at time of passing. We're going to do a quick pre-screening, which is just 10 to 15 minutes of some medical questions. That tells us we can go forward with the donation. At that point, we're making all of the arrangements to transport the donor into our care, obtain the consents from all of the legal next of kin, and we do that paperless through email signatures, electronic signatures. It's all at your convenience. And that process is very quick. We'll get that done in 24 hours. We maintain custody of the donor until we get all of those consent forms, and then we start to proceed with the actual donation. So it's very seamless. We keep in contact with the family throughout the process so they understand what's happening. We check in with them a few days after donation just to make sure that they're getting resources they may need, and offer resources locally should they need some. And then afterwards, a month after donation, we send a family follow-up letter to the family explaining the types of research and training programs going on at that time so they get a more clear understanding of how their loved one was able to give back.
You really do. You know, this is first class, Melinda, because people are still in shock in many instances, especially if it were a unexpected death.
Yes.
And they don't even know what to ask or what's happened. And all of a sudden one day they say, wow, you know, and there you are. You've already written them and you've told them what's going on. And so, you know, when people die and they're much older and people have been expecting it, it's not as much a shock, even though you know he's missed the person whom you loved and who passed away. But I know just recently a friend of mine, his daughter, was on a motorcycle with someone else and she was killed. And it wasn't really my friend, it was my friend's friend. And so I didn't really, and you know, I didn't feel I could even say anything about it, but I know they didn't have a lot of money. And I was hesitant because it wasn't something, I think at the time, I don't know. You understand what I'm saying?
No,
sometimes it's not appropriate.
It's difficult to talk about. And certainly if you're not close to the person, you know, it's difficult to talk about. But I think that's why it's important for you and I to talk today and to talk to all of your listeners, because the more we talk about it, the more this becomes part of our natural culture around end-of-life planning. It will be so much easier for people to think about this option, make the decision to go forward with this option. But one thing I would leave with your listeners is that if you're not sure if this is right for you, pick up the phone and call us. You know, our donor services coordinators are, you know, the kindest, sweetest people you'll ever meet, and they just want to talk to you. And they'll give you all the information that you need. You know, they'll give you answers to your questions. They'll send you materials, whatever you like, just so that you understand what we do and why it's important.
Well, and probably you're too young, or maybe you did do this. Have you ever really been to a funeral home where they have the caskets and you have to go through it and figure out? Have you ever done this with anybody? Are you aware of what that's like?
Yeah, it's a grueling process.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I did that.
Yeah,
I think I told you originally with my mother. My mother and her two sisters, they all wanted to be buried the same place. They all had to go pick out their caskets. And that's when my mother, this must have been, see, my mother's been passed away in 2003, and then this must have been 10 years before that. I wasn't even on my mind. The first thing I said, Mother, please don't talk about your dying. That's the first thing we all say, of course. And then, but she said, I really do want you to come. And I took a deep breath, and I loved my mother. I said, okay, whatever you want me to do. I was very unhappy. Melinda, it was horrible to see that a body, it's all silk inside, and it's all plush, and you get to choose this frame or that frame. I will never forget that. It was terrible, Melinda.
Yeah, and one positive aspect of choosing a program like this is it's so life-affirming. You know, when I'm relatively young. I told my kids, though, you know, I really support this type of work, and so I joined Science Care myself. And I told them, I said, look, this is going to happen. Everybody passes. And when I pass, you need to call Science Care. And this is important to me because it's only positive. It's helping other people. It's not about death. It's about living, helping the living, giving back to others.
Yeah.
And it's just such a positive gift.
You say it so well. You're really you're amazing. And I know our listeners. I know usually every time we have a radio show, we get somebody that calls and says, "I want more information about this," because you really have not only enthusiasm but knowledge, and you believe in it so much as I do. And so we are very anxious to get the word out. And I think if you write the column for our June issue, it's really important because it's think about this, that when people years ago, I think we maybe have said this before, the first thing they did is they got life insurance when they got married, and they got burial plans.
Yep.
I don't understand that, but it seemed like it was just expected.
Yes.
So,
yes, our culture is changing around end of life. It is changing rapidly. In the last 10 and 15 years, the rates of cremation have skyrocketed. And we are going to see over 50% nationwide cremation rates within the next couple of years. And what I like to tell people is if you're already thinking about cremation, think about this wonderful way to give back first through body donation, and your remains will still be cremated and returned to your family. It's just a beautiful gift, and one that everyone, I think, should consider.
Right. And I think that when they start thinking at the beginning of life insurance, they should think about what would happen if someone passes away. And, I mean, I could just picture, and it's horrible, there are many families that are all in a major car accident, and everyone's killed.
Yeah.
And
terrible.
you can imagine what that's like for the remaining family to try to deal with all that. And it's not only the expense, which, of course, is something to think about, but it's monstrous. So if you could just say, okay, Science Care, please help us. And they take everyone away, and it's over.
Yes, and, we cannot predict death. We have no control over that fact. But what we can do is take some proactive, positive steps to give to others through this tragedy.
And let me just give everybody your website, and then we're going to say goodbye. But it's been so wonderful. It's sciencecare.com. Sciencecare.com, and the phone number is 1-800-417-3747. 1-800-417-3747, 24 hours a day. Thank you, Melinda, and we need to write something about this.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye, Melinda.